Graduate who has a job, which is a really big deal. And I've got a son in Pensacola, Florida right now with the United States Marine Corps.
Wow.
We said very early on, we said, well, we would want to know them as a family and let them know us as a family. And secondly, I wanted to have a better idea about his vision for the country. And I'd seen this larger than life leader on the national stage, but I wanted to hear from him. And to hear what role or how I might be able to be helpful in implementing that vision. And quite humbling for us, we were invited to spend time with them. In fact, before the process would be over, the Trump kids came to breakfast at the governor's residence in Indianapolis one morning. It's kind of a funny story. We had spent a weekend with the Trumps a couple weeks earlier getting to know Donald and Melania, but we hadn't met the kids yet, and Donald didn't want to make a decision until the kids had met all the various candidates for the position. And we were supposed to fly back to New York, Mel. This is a true story. He came to Indiana for a rally, and we were supposed to fly back to New York, but the plane got a flat tire when it landed in Indianapolis. Now, I was nowhere near the airport that night, and I just wanted to leave. But so they couldn't fly back, so he had to overnight. So Donald just said, he called the kids and said, get on the G5 and come out here. I want you to meet the Pences. And so Karen, always ever hospitable, just like Rhonda, said, why don't we just have you to the governor's residence? It's not a really big place, but we'd love to have you there, and we'll have breakfast and be nice and private. And they said, great, perfect. So it was kind of a guess who's coming to breakfast thing, right? But the true story was, we got home that night about 11 o'clock after dinner with Donald and Eric, and Karen looked at me and said, you know that we only have 2 staffers at the governor's residence. Neither one of them's a cook. Karen looked at me and said, so they don't get in till 9, so what are we doing about breakfast? So I was enlisted immediately onto KP duty. We were hauling plates in. We were actually out in the garden clipping flowers at midnight with a flashlight, getting all the table ready, and Mrs. Pence put breakfast together for the Trumps, and it was just actually very special. I think when they arrived, what we sense about the man and being around him off the campaign trail, around not only his family but people who worked with him and for him, is I think this is an extraordinary leader. This is someone who I'll never forget when I was out at one of his golf courses that weekend. There's, to me, the perfect combination for an effective CEO is that man or woman who can combine high standards with an affirming and encouraging manner that makes people want to work for him, right? I mean, that to me is the combination, because I've known people that have high standards, but it's a real, it's tough to work for them, right? And then I got other people that are great to work for, but we really don't get a lot done. And with Donald Trump, you could tell in my first encounters with him, this is someone who things have to be right. Things have to be like they're supposed to be. I'll never forget the encounter with the man who has run the resort that they spend. Bedminster in New Jersey. Thank you, dear. He's got a lot of them. But the guy who had run it since he bought it about a dozen years ago, we got there on a Friday night. And I hope you don't mind me telling these little stories, but this is true story. So I get there on Friday night, and I think his name was Don. And he came up, and Karen and Charlotte and I were having dinner, just a quiet dinner, and we were scheduled to meet with him beginning in the morning and spend the weekend with him. And so Don came up and said, is everything going well? We were just having dinner in the dining room. And I said, no, we're terrific. I said, don't worry about us. We're not on the schedule till tomorrow. And he said to me, well, he's called a couple times from the car just to make sure you guys are okay and that everything is as it should be. And I said, oh, well, that's very nice. And he said, well, you know how he is. And I said, no, I haven't got any idea. I'm really here because I don't have any idea how he is. And he said, well, he wants things to be right. He wants everybody to be taken care of. And it wasn't just us. I mean, you could tell as you moved around that resort with him over the course of the weekend that he's the boss. Things need to be right. But also you could see that warmth. The people that were taking care of the grounds, the people that were laying some bricks, the people that were in the head office. There's a warmth there where they just really like working for the man. And to me, that's that combination of a great leader.